This is a meeting of the Upton Conservation Commission for Wednesday, April 12th at 7 p.m. And we do have a quorum of 4 members. And our 7 o'clock hearing is an enforcement order for the community center project / VFW update. So Steve, do you have an update for us?
Yes, we had bought 5 pounds of that special seed, had to get it out in Hadley. It's being delivered on Friday, and we're going to put it down on the, what is it, the 22nd Earth Day? Because they want to get it so it's like we're not going to have dip below 50 too much.
Mm.
So that's what we're doing right now.
Thank you for the update. Mary, what's your update there?
What are the plans for so the seed that you bought is for the slope, right?
Yes, and we're gonna, for the top, for the level portion, we're probably just gonna use that as parking.
Right, so you guys still need to get rid of the dirt pile and...
Yes, we do need that, and I'm quite sure that I can get them to do it real soon.
Okay, and then you'll seed that, you can just seed that with regular grass seed.
Right.
Are you planning on bringing any loam in for that, or are you just going to let it be kind of gravelly grass?
Be kind of gravelly grass, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions? Hearing none. Mary, do you envision this being continued?
Yeah, maybe we should have a status report on the 26th.
Okay.
So hopefully by then it'll be planted.
So how about 7 p.m. on the 26th for an update?
All right. Let me write that down real quick. All right, I got it.
Okay, thank you. You'll be our regular 7 p.m. meeting.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Steve. We appreciate it.
Yeah, see you later.
Thank you. See you later. Okay, now we have a little bit of time for our 7:15 hearing. So how about if we go up to new items? Is Mike here? I don't see Mike's sign on yet.
Not here yet. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know the Lakes and Ponds were having a meeting at 6:30, so we'll probably hold off on that one. And Mary, what were you saying about 117 Hopkins Road? Is that for the update?
Yeah, so 117 Hopkinton Road. If you guys remember, we approved a determination for him to remove quite a number of trees because he wanted to install rooftop solar. I did a site inspection, and I guess we kind of, I made some assumptions about what he was going to do with the trees, and he made some assumptions about what he was going to do with the trees, and they're not exactly where I would like them to be. So I just wanted to show you what the situation is. And however, for him to move it all is going to be a lot of work. So I'll just share my screen. It is in the agent report. So we can look at what's going on.
So Mary, I looked at that and it looks like some of that really does need to be removed.
Yeah, that was kind of my impression. He did say, so here's his lawn, the wetlands back here. This stuff, like he did say he's going to burn all the easy to burn stuff. He's going to burn that, but he's got a ton of logs, and the wetland is literally 10 feet or less away behind it. So this is within the 30-foot zone. I don't think he realized that the wetland was that close here because there's no flags in this section of the wetland. But if you look at the plans, the wetland does go right through here. So yeah, he has a lot of debris. And I just wanted to bring it before the board. He's kind of wishing, see, he had a lot of trees removed. So he did some himself and the tree company did some. So the ones that the tree company did, they took all the wood, but these ones are the ones that he did. And so the wood is still sitting there.
Can you pile the wood in the stack outside of the 30-foot?
Yeah, he has room. He has room other places to put it. It's just going to be work. Obviously, it's a fair bit. Yeah. So my inclination was to ask him to do that. And I don't know if this is, he said a tree company told him this, which I find a little bit hard to believe, but maybe it's true. That he said that the tree company said that, well, I believe he said, well, in Upton, when I fell trees, the Concom wants me to just leave them where they fall, because, the tree, the matter or whatever, and I can see that it'll decompose. But to me, it's not leaving the tree where it falls, and it's a big pile. So it's a little different. I can kind of see the point to that, but.
Yeah, I believe in the past we have actually left some trees, let people leave some trees, but it wasn't this.
Right.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, this is all bucked up and it's all around.
Yeah.
I mean, if they left it just tree length and dropped it, that might even, that might be better. But it looks like they really put a lot into that wetland.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not familiar with that wetland, so I don't know if it's a wetland or just kind of damp.
I think it's not super wet, and I don't think very much of it is actually in the wetland, but it's right next to it, 10 feet away. So my inclination is to ask him to remove most of it at any rate, or pile it off somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you just ask him to move it and see what happens, and then we can go from there, I suppose.
Yeah, and it is a lot of work. He would be probably doing it by himself. So, give him a couple months. But this stuff is, there's shrubs in here that it's like lying on top of, which would recover, I think, if given a chance.
I think you mentioned that we're on the phone that there were some sweet pepper bush there and high bush blueberries. They're both really good buffer zone plants.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, when I was kind of looking to see where we would plant stuff, and there's actually a lot of stuff already growing in the 30-foot. So, except he's probably going to have to plant stuff where these tree stumps, where the tree logs are. Well, all right. So I'll tell him that he needs to move it.
Excellent. That would be a motivation for him to move it, because if he moves it and it comes up on its own, he doesn't have to buy it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mary. Do you have any other discussion or comments? Yes. How about if we go on to the administrator's report? So we still have 7 minutes.
All right. So 36 Milford Street, which is Ann Suezo. She called about getting a tree removed about 10 or 15 feet from her wetland, and it was diseased. And so the tree's going to be removed, and they're going to take it wherever they take it to get rid of I think it was the emerald ash borer. So that one's going. And then 162A Main Street. Well, actually, we can look at this. Clayton Road, the replication area is looking pretty good. A few of the trees have died, maybe, 3 or 4. So, but there's like 10 or 12 trees there. They'll probably have to replace those. They have this is the trail going in. They have it nicely delineated here, and nice stone dust on it. Looks great, except where you get to the bottom. Needs a little fixing there. And the trail is already being used, pretty well used. This is connecting to the trail in the woods. It goes right up there. So that looks nice. Oh, and here's the tree at 36 Milford. And then 162A Main Street. This is the sawmill operation that's running in the riverfront area. And so the neighbors that live over here and people here, they've been complaining about noise and stuff. So I went to look at it. They are storing, so this whole pile is within 100 feet of the river. This pile, maybe half of it is. But remember, with riverfront, it's 200 feet. But this is, it's kind of a minor use. So, this is previously disturbed. It was already a pasture, so they're stockpiling stuff. If you look the other direction, this tree is about the 100 foot from the river line, and they've got stuff, a lot of stuff here as well. On the other side of the property, this is wetland here, BBW. And this stuff is, I don't know, maybe 30 feet away. They're stockpiling stuff kind of all around. This part doesn't really bother me, isn't quite as concerning, I don't think. And this is kind of looking from the BBW toward the riverfront area. So the road is over here. These are the houses. So they've got a really big area, actually. They're kind of spread out all over it. This is their sawmill machine, which is not within any buffer zone, I don't think, or the riverfront area. They've got that there. And this is back looking at the riverfront area. All of this is within the 200 foot. Here's the tree that kind of marks the 100 foot. So they've got tons of cordwood stacked here. So it's a use in the riverfront area that it's a little bit different than cow pasture, I would say. They're not running any machinery anymore. They're just stockpiling stuff. So it's kind of a question. They are willing to move. They're willing to move some of these piles. And I think the question before the board is, do we want to just have them move everything out of the inner riparian, the 100 foot area? Or should we ask them to try to keep everything out of the 200 foot area? There is room on the lot, but they do have a lot of stuff that's already just kind of sitting there. It's a lot of work to move it. And the owner of the property thought he wouldn't fall under the Wetlands Protection Act because this was agricultural. And I didn't do research on it, but it sounds a little fishy to me. I don't know. It is a sawmill operation. He does have some agricultural plan, which he said he's going to give to me, but he's growing a few fruit trees and a couple baby pine trees for like Christmas tree farm. But this part of the operation to me is not really agriculture.
Do we have other comments about this from the members?
Mary, are they actually cutting boards there, or are they just using it as a warehousing area?
They are cutting boards. Here's their equipment, and they're selling them. Yeah, they're. I think it's nice. It's nice that it's two women. They're trying to, they're doing something kind of cool. Actually, I wish it wasn't so close to the river. That's all. And this whole area is actually some kind of flood zone, but I don't know how much that impacts things. I think I have an aerial actually. Yeah, here we go. So you can kind of see, and I didn't shoot all the way over to the wetland. The wetland's way over here. They've got wood stacked all the way around here. I think this is where their sawmill machine is. And this fence is the fence here is about 200 feet. And this is all the wood they have stacked, and there's a whole bunch of wood stacked here. These lines, so the edge of the trees and stuff are the tree overhang to the river. is about 85, 89 feet. So they do have a pretty good natural buffer. This is all fenced off here between the land and the river.
Mary, is this natural heritage area mapped?
I think I looked that up before and I don't remember. I don't.
This is Warren Brook,
so.
right?
Yeah, this is Warren Brook.
So actually, just for your information, whether or not it's mapped, when we did that turtle telemetry study maybe 5 years ago, a turtle migrated all the way downstream to the Glen Avenue well field.
Okay.
And laid some eggs there. So there's turtles moving up and down the whole Warren Brook corridor. Whether or not it's actually mapped by natural heritage.
Okay.
So my two comments with this would be, my first question is, are they storing the fuel for those equipment pieces on site?
That's a question. Yeah, I don't know about the fuel storage. Yeah, they must be using fuel for their equipment.
And my other question or point was, could they move everything to the 200-foot zone rather than have it in the 100-foot riparian zone?
Yeah, it seems to me like there's enough room. Yeah.
Would that be a hardship for them?
What's that?
Would that be a hardship for them?
I think maybe one way to do it would be to ask them to give them some time, that as they, move stuff around like this, all this firewood that's stacked here, it's in beautiful piles. Mm-hmm. It's a ton of firewood, and I don't know, what their time schedule is for selling it or what the deal with that is. Yeah.
Maybe we could suggest to them any new materials would be in the 200-foot zone. So
yeah.
Add to the lower zone.
And that they should work to get stuff out of existing piles out of there.
So that's the first.
Yeah.
And
has there been any talk about a filing?
Well, that was kind of that was kind of one reason I was bringing it before you. Yeah, it's kind of like in my mind, it's on the edge. I mean, certainly they are. As I looked at the Upton bylaw, it talked about running equipment or stockpiling things would count as alteration, and so this would qualify under that.
So, do we have a motion to ask them to do a filing?
Another point is that actually they might have discussed this at planning board last night.
Yes, it was discussed. Yes.
Yeah. What did you guys come up with a recommendation as to whether or not they need a special permit?
Well, where we stood on this, again, as Mary noted, these are two sisters. I think they live on the North Street side of Mechanic Street, and they grew up on doing. Their father ran a sawmill, and they grew up doing this, and they started this. The logs that are on that site, apparently, people bring them there, and then they saw them. So they are sort of customized. They get some really cool wood. I do know that a local woodworker has gotten some planks there to build furniture with. And they were, because of the noise complaint, I guess all sorts of people have started, and they were unaware of these requirements. So they will be working with the planning board. The town planner brought this topic up. They did not appear in person. And, to talk about whether or not they, require some sort of variance or waiver or something to do a change of use, to authorize them to run this operation at that site, or whether they have to go to the zoning board. But, you know, we are going to have them in for an informal discussion. It might be a good idea. One of our members did bring up that, you know, the Conservation Commission obviously would be involved with this too. You know, it seems like something that everybody would like to see. You know, as Mary said, it's kind of a cool idea, and it's part of this symbiotic small business cluster that all service each other in town. So I think that, you know, people's would like to see this work. And there was no immediate red flag that this would be a bad idea. But, you know, we have to check with everything. We don't have a zone for sawmills. You know, it doesn't really fit into any zoning, so it would require some sort of change of use. So that's where it stands. I mean, basically, a long answer to say we did nothing, but we will be.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kathy. That's
Mary.
helpful.
Mary, can we ask them to come in at our next meeting at 7:10 for an informal discussion as well?
Sure, we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
And I will try to look under the ag exemption and see if sawmills are under there before then.
Okay. Now, with that said, can we, any other comments on this right now?
I just want to have on Mary. Do you have the wood turtle study? I can post it on Google Drive and get it to you.
We might have it.
I'll post it.
Okay.
But I just looked at the map, and there were a couple of hits in the river, pretty much right opposite their work area. Probably the turtle migrating down to the Glen Avenue well field. You know, I don't know if any of these disturbed areas here might interest a wood turtle or not, but there weren't any wood turtles tracked actually deep into the property.
Yeah, another thing that came up to be aware of, you know, all these houses on the other side of the river there on Glen Ave, I think, they are really close to the river, and obviously they predate. And a lot of their backyards, you can see from here, are just, they're not very neat. They've got stuff all over the place. And so the sawmill people were having a hard time saying, well, they're complaining about us, but look at them. Well, not really, but it was, you know, it definitely, there's issues over there. I'm not sure, you know, looks like there's patios and retaining walls that I got to wonder if they were ever permitted and stuff like that. So I don't know how deep we want to get into it, but it seems like, you know, they are living close to the river as well, and they need to have some responsibility for doing what's right in their backyard. So maybe we could think about sending out a letter to that neighborhood or something. I don't know.
I'd be careful about that.
Okay.
I'd be careful about that, Mary, because those homes have been there for a long, long time, and my guess is that was probably okay when those homes were built. That's just
quite likely.
And Mary, I was just going to mention, I think if I'm looking at the map correctly, I think this whole area is in priority habitat for heritage, for what it's worth. They would need to file through them as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's good information.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if that's the case, do we want to just ask for a filing?
Yeah.
You know, just rather than dragging it out any longer. Yeah. Does anybody have an objection to that?
So Mike has a motion to ask them to do a filing.
I don't think I made a motion.
That's what I'm asking. Do you want?
Just a more of a comment, but
okay.
If you want a motion,
sure.
Somebody can make it. I guess I'll make it. You know, given that it's priority habitat and disturbance within the 200-foot riverfront zone, you know, the commission recommends that they file a notice of intent.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Okay, Dave, that was a second. Let's do a voice vote. And remember, please state your name so Grace has that for a minute. So, Chris got aye.
Tom Django, I.
Alan Miano, aye.
David Zabak, aye.
Marcella Stasha, aye.
Mike, aye.
That's a unanimous vote of the commission. Thank you. So with that said, can we ask them for 7:10 at next meeting to have a notice intent ready to go, or not that soon?
Yeah, it would take, because the filing deadline for that is tomorrow, so I don't think they'd get it in time.
Okay, so it would be the next week or so.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we'll have to do right now is postpone the rest of Mary's report. We can go to the 7:15, which is the notice of intent, the Robertson Family Conservation Restriction - installation of a trail bridge and 4 lots. So Mary, do you have the posting?
That one it's continued, so I don't think we need to read the notice for that.
Okay, so we're continuing. So Mike, are you going to talk with us about that?
Yeah, I guess I'm just going to ask that we continue it again for a month.
Okay.
We haven't had a chance to go out there and look for a wetland replication area.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you want to continue to which date?
I'd say a month, please.
So that's May.
Second meeting.
May.
First meeting in May.
Oh, May 10th. Okay, so we'll continue yours to May 10th.
The other thing I actually wanted to bring up with you folks is I was actually wondering if maybe we should contact the circuit rider, not Mia, but the lead circuit rider, and just ask the question whether or not we really need to mitigate here. I attended the DEP's. They provided a web-based presentation on trails and the Wetlands Protection Act, and that says we do have to, we do mitigate, or basically when the question was asked, if a trail passes through an existing wetland, is it still a resource area? In other words, there's like a footpath that's say 2 foot wide, already established there. Is that area recognized as a wetland, and therefore if it's altered by say a boardwalk, like what we're doing, do you need to mitigate it? And I'm thinking maybe it might be worth getting a second opinion and just laying out all the constraints here. We're constraints because the site isn't accessible for equipment. We're constrained because we have a trail easement. We would have to go to the Robertsons to ask permission to build a replication area somewhere else on their property, or we have to ask DEP permission to build the replication area on some other property. We really, all in all, if you read the performance standards for BDW and wetland replication, we can't really meet them. We just, this is a weird one. It's not like we're building a driveway into a house lot. You can normally just put the wetland replication area someplace close to the fill. We just can't do that here. So I guess what I'm suggesting is, if no one has an objection, maybe I could send an email. Maybe I can have Mary review it and Chris, or before it goes out, just asking if there's any potential for a special dispensation here in terms of replicating 240 square feet of wetland, So. And I would not go to Mia. she's already kind of weighed in on this. I would go to one step up.
Yeah, and I can't remember in that email exchange whether the one step up, which I think is Judy Schmidt, whether she had already weighed in on it or not. That's what I don't remember.
Yeah, actually, I wouldn't go to Judy either. I would go to the circuit. There's a head circuit rider.
Okay.
There's like about a half a dozen circuit riders in the state, and there's a lead circuit rider. I was thinking we could go to Judy. We could go to both of them. I suspect we're probably going to get the same answer, but if nothing else, we can like raise this issue, because I'm sure there's all sorts of land trusts and other Concoms who, struggle with this. As we are, they may not be quite as constrained as we are with the trail easement, but how the hell do you build a wetland resource area, 1,000 feet into the woods, basically,
Right.
where you would do far more damage getting a piece of equipment in there than any value that can be gained with the replication area. So, yeah.
So with that said, Mike, I put you on May 10th at 7:15 for the continuation of the Robson family conservation restriction and trail bridge.
So consensus, thank you, Chris. So consensus wise, is it okay if maybe Mary and I work to get an email to somebody? I guess it could be to Judy or it could be to both of them. And meanwhile, we can also be looking for a mitigation area. At the very least, if we find a mitigation area and it's on, say, Mechanic Street, we need to ask, is that acceptable? To build it on a different drainage area across the road, all that. Maybe the thing to do with two would be if Marcel and I can get out soon and look for potential mitigation area. We may have to build a mitigation area for the Mechanic Street trail system too.
So would someone like to make a motion to have Mike and Marcella work on that?
And Mary.
So who's making the motion?
Tom.
Okay, Tom made the motion. Who's seconding it?
Marcella, second.
Okay, now let's do a voice vote. Chris Scott, aye.
Tom Django, aye.
Alan Miano, aye.
David Zabak, aye.
Mike, aye.
Marcella Stasha, aye.
Okay, that's a unanimous vote of the commission. So thank you for drafting a letter to that extent. And now at 7:30, we have notice of intent 165 South Street, creation of a access road. So Mary, do you have the notice for that?
Yes, I do. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act that the Upton Conservation Commission will hold the following public hearing on Wednesday, April 12th, 2023. And someone, I can hear the radio in the background. If you can mute yourself. So 7:30 p.m. notice of intent filed by Richard Morrell for the creation of an access road from residents at 165 South Street to the access road at 0 South Street gravel pit, map 32, parcel 1.04.
Thank you. Okay, now who do we have to speak about this project?
Rick Morrell, I believe, is here, and I can share my screen and we can look at the plans. So this shows the whole property, which is rather large here, South Street, Here's the house lot 165, and this is the gravel pit lot. And I'll zoom into the area of interest. Get this over. Here we go.
Hello.
Is that you, Rick?
Yes, it is.
All right, you can explain your project if you'd like.
Sure. Rick Morrell, 165 South Street. What we did was I put a access road from my property to the access road for the gravel pit. This is primarily just for accessing with my backhoe to get over to that access road instead of needing to drive on the road.
Yeah, so this is a notice of intent filing after the fact. We asked him to file. So this is the wetlands. He had this wetland plan done just to kind of get some idea of the wetland resources on the gravel pit lot and what kind of buildable lots were there. So the wetland map was not done with this Axon road in mind. So as you can see, the wetlands aren't completely delineated here. We're missing a piece of it, but it's not too hard to follow. It's pretty clear where the wetland edge is in this area. I will go to my report unless anyone else wants to look at the plan longer. So there is a potential vernal pool on the property. Here you can see the road, pretty much the whole length of the road from his driveway over here to the access road panorama. There's a vernal pool in the picture. There's a low point on the access road where there's been a little bit of a drainage path is developing from runoff off the road. So when we met with Rick sometime over the winter, we suggested maybe a wood chip berm to kind of try to hold the water in place so it could percolate through instead of going down in a stream. Here's the vernal pool. I was out there this morning looking for egg masses. I didn't see any, but then again, I didn't have any boots and I didn't walk into the middle. There are some, when he built the access road, he left a few piles of dirt and brush at the edge of the road. I was thinking maybe that the brush could be, in thinking about it, maybe just spread more evenly, not within the wetland line, but back from the wetland, just so that it wouldn't be in piles and create like a barrier for any migrating amphibians or anything like that. And same with the dirt. I thought it could maybe be raked out more level. So what other thoughts here? So this project is only being filed under the bylaw. When we originally looked at the property, we just saw the vernal pool. It might potentially go under the Wetlands Protection Act if the wetlands that are delineated on that plan are actually connective to the wetlands below. It's not clear from the plan whether there is connectivity or not. I didn't really research that. Any connectivity would be pretty far from where we were. The bylaw has some performance standards, and they assume that any disturbance of soil, humus layer, and leaf litter at any time of the year should not be done in a vernal pool area. That any sediment, brush clippings, or fill should not be done. Any changing of drainage patterns And then any alterations of the vegetation of the canopy or understory. So clearly, constructing the road impacted most of these things. So for us to, approve this project, it would require a waiver or a variance. We have had informal discussions, and the commission, I think, came to an agreement with the applicant that there were not very many other reasonable alternatives because he can't really drive his vehicle on the road, and any other routes would require more disturbance and interference with wetlands. So one thing, this vernal pool is not certified. One thing we could consider including in an order of conditions is getting the vernal pool certified. And then something to think about, as he had mentioned on his plans, maybe covering the road with wood chips. And Rick, were you thinking just 4 to 6 inches to provide some stabilization to the road?
Correct.
I noticed on the plan that the wood chips, were you thinking of putting wood chips all over the whole road or just along the edge for what we had talked about?
Sure, I was going to do the whole road.
Okay. So yeah, he's proposing, wood chips on the road. And I think the low area is right in here. If we have a little kind of berm there to prevent runoff from going, prevent like a channelization and a bigger stream from heading down in there. So those were my comments. The commission may have other comments. I didn't think, we could potentially ask for some plantings. I think a few trees were removed, but on the other hand, it is a pretty well wooded area. It's something that we could consider, though.
Mary, this is Tom. I have a question. Would putting wood chips on the road, would that encourage the salamanders and stuff to actually bury themselves in the road? I don't know. I have no idea. It's just a question.
I think the salamanders are more likely to be under logs and in leaf litter than in wood chips, but that's I'm not sure.
Asking. I don't know. I was just thinking it would be better to just have it as a packed dirt road as opposed to having wood chips on it. But I honestly don't know what's best.
When we visited the site, I remember that the owner it sounded like the use of the road was not going to be that frequent. Do you anticipate that there will be some increase in the frequency? It sounded like it was going to be just, maybe 4 or 5 times a year, if that.
Correct. I have no use to that road other than to move the backhoe. I could just drive my truck on South Street and get in the gate. Once in a while, I do take that road with my truck if I don't feel like spending the time opening the gate. But it's very infrequent. It's clearly just for the machine. It's not going to become a common occurrence. No.
I have a couple of questions for the applicant and for the group, I guess. Getting the vernal pool certified, if we issue an order with a variance, perhaps it could be written that the commission has the right to enter the property to certify the vernal pool, rather than putting the vernal pool certification on the owner, just as long as we have the right to enter the property to certify it at some point. That's one thought. And the other, could we have a permanent condition that would basically ask for no further disturbance of the vernal pool resource area or buffer? and the vernal pool resource area is 100 foot from essentially the water line, plus 50 feet, I believe. Do you think you could live with that kind of a restriction?
Let me ask you a question. So if I decide to build a house behind, or using the access road, I decide to build a house back there, this wouldn't affect the access road, would it?
That's not what I'm thinking of. No, it would not. The access road is already there.
Correct.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that it's not going to, limit me being able to do something.
Yeah. I mean, if the commission wanted to ask for some kind of or add some kind of condition like that, I mean, it would be, maybe that could be specified that it's, undeveloped areas within the vernal pool resource area and buffer, something like that.
Right. So it's 150 feet?
Yeah, I believe so. It's the resource area extends 100 feet, and then there's a buffer that's 50 feet beyond that. And it's really, to be honest, it's not even the minimum you probably need, because the wood frogs and the salamanders move hundreds of feet away from vernal pools to, during the non-breeding season. But it's something,
right?
It's not. Anyway, I'm just throwing that out to the commission. If we're going to end up closing this and issuing an order, there's just two conditions that I'd like people to consider.
There was potential that I was going to put an addition on the left side of my house, and I'm not sure of that distance from the vernal pool, but I think 150 is probably going to bring me pretty close to my existing house.
Is that area already turf?
Yeah,
lawn?
It's already lawn.
Yeah.
It's already lawn. Yeah.
That wouldn't count then.
Okay. Yeah, so with that said, I have no issue with that.
What does everyone think about the wood chips on the road?
Mary, do you think they're needed to prevent erosion?
There is a little bit of a chance of erosion. I think this was just a suggestion that Rick had. We had talked about like a wood chip berm to kind of keep water that was coming down from the road from, getting out of the road and going down into the wetland area. But it may help with, there was a little bit of channelization on the top part of the road. It might help with that.
I don't have a problem with it.
Should we have a motion or more discussion? Let's take a motion to vote to allow wood chips on the berm, on the roadway.
So moved.
Should we have a second?
Second.
Okay, this is Chris. Aye.
Tom Django, I'm going to abstain, I guess.
Alan Miano, aye.
David, aye.
Marcella Stasha, aye.
Mike, aye.
Okay, that's
I'm curious, does Tom know something about wood chips on roads that the rest of us don't know?
No, I don't. I truly don't. And that's why I was reluctant to say I'm not, I don't know. I just know from being a kid catching salamanders and stuff. I just didn't know if they would decide to make a home right in the road if you had wood chips on it. I have no idea if that's accurate or not. It's just a thought. So
Okay.
that's
No,
all.
I thought you might know that wood chips, explode in certain conditions and that we don't want that to happen.
No, I really know nothing about it. It's just
Okay.
a thought.
Just curious.
Okay, so we voted to allow wood chips in the road as a majority of the vote of the commission. And so what are we asking for 165 South Street? Is that to file an intent for the wrongful?
So I think the question now is, are we ready to close the hearing and issue an order of conditions with the conditions that Mike had suggested? With the right to certify a vernal pool. And then I think we would add just a little berm of wood chips and the other things that I mentioned, the spreading of the branches and the breaking out of the dirt to make it so it's less barriers in the forest area.
Mary, do we get a DEP number for this?
This was a bylaw only filing. Because we originally thought it was just a vernal pool, but it seems like there's wetland also connected with it. But This is how we are at the moment.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, Mary, who would do the certification of the vernal pool?
So the commission would have the right to enter the property and certify it. And I just went to a vernal pool workshop today, and I would feel pretty comfortable doing it. Probably there's other members that might feel comfortable doing it too.
Cool.
So
I just request be notified so I can be there with you guys.
Yep.
Any other comments from?
I should ask the owner. Do you have any problems with that condition? Just asking.
No, because I do believe it is a vernal pool. I just wanted to make sure that it really didn't hinder, any short term. Like I said, if I put an addition on, I don't have to go through the whole process of doing another order of conditions or anything. So no, I don't.
Thank you.
Excellent. So does the commission have any other questions or points to discuss? Any other comments from the applicant?
Nope.
Okay. So with that said, would the applicant like to close this hearing, and then we would issue orders for it? It's a good thing to close today. So did I miss something? Does the owner want to close this hearing?
Oh, sorry about that. I missed that. Yes.
Oh, that's okay. Okay, great. Because closing it means we move to the next step, which is developing the orders and conditions for your project. And Mary will do that and contact you when it's ready. So good job. We appreciate you coming in.
No problem. Thank you. Have a good night.
You're welcome. You too. Okay. So with that,
Chris, we need to vote on closing the hearing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to close it.
Do a second.
Second.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Chris, aye.
Tom, aye.
Alan, aye.
David, aye.
Mike, aye.
Marcella, aye.
So do we hear from Alan?
Yes, I said aye.
Okay, thank you. So that's unanimous vote of the Conservation Commission to close
Thank
this
you.
hearing. You're welcome. Right. So
Okay, have a good night.
okay. Here.
All right, bye-bye.
Clarification. Thank you. So we'll close that for tonight. And so it's not 8 o'clock yet. And as far as I can recall, Governor's Landing was we continued.
Yeah, Governor's Landing is continued. Yeah.
And they were at the planning board last night, so we can talk about that if you guys want to. So we'll go back to the administrator's report.
Yeah, and sure. So the other issue was I took a look at 167 North Street. I had a tip from someone, and they are doing work. This is BVW here, even though it doesn't look like it because he's been mowing it. I found the order of conditions for this, and so he was supposed to. There's supposed to be a no disturb line here with trees planted and bounds, blah, 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 blah. So it doesn't look like any of that's there, and he's mowing the BVW. And there's also some concern about the pipe here, which is just at the bottom of the picture here, and it's draining into the intermittent stream. And I did find his phone number in a building department file and left a call, but there has been no callback, which, so I guess it seems like we have a lot of things going with this project, because not only is, he's got this new work here, but he never finished up his order of conditions or came into compliance with that. And the order never even got recorded originally. So he doesn't have a certificate of compliance, or the order was never recorded. So I think there's a bunch of things we can try to get him straightened away with.
Do you know where that pipe goes to? Or comes from?
No, it's a mystery.
Oh, uh-oh.
It could be a foundation drain or something, but don't know.
So what are people's thoughts?
Maybe the property owner should come in and talk to us and explain what's going on.
Yeah.
We might need to send a certified letter and maybe an enforcement order.
Yeah, yeah, he hasn't responded to the phone call yet. I think I called him on Monday, assuming that was the right number.
Maybe certified mail is the most reliable way to get the, invite them to come to the meeting.
So do we want to go ahead with an enforcement order or just send a letter?
I would say an enforcement order and have that with the letter that's mailed.
Yeah.
And the one thing I've noticed with certified mail is if you also send something to them with the certificate of mailing, that way they can't have the excuse that they couldn't get to the post office. Because the certificate of mailing goes just like regular mail.
Yeah.
So send them both. What do people think?
I'm fine with that.
Any other comments? So is a consensus that there be an enforcement order and a letter that both go certified mail and certificate of mailing, inviting them to a meeting? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
Okay, so let's do a voice vote. Chris, Scott, aye.
Tom, I.
Alan, I.
David, I.
Marcella, I.
Mike, aye.
Okay, so that's a unanimous vote of the commission to issue a letter and enforcement order for 167 North Street and invite them to a meeting. And so we have 8 o'clock, and so we have time to keep going. So, Mary, keep going, please.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if there's anything else in my agent report that's noteworthy. Just a little update on Five Forks Farm. I know they were out there on Monday doing tests to see how deep the bedrock actually was. I think the next step there is once they know how far down they're going to go, I think Nathan maybe reworks the plans a little bit more. And I'll make sure I get a copy of those. And then they will actually start construction. And I am going to be part of their pre-construction meeting, but we haven't scheduled that yet. The west, if you guys remember the Westboro Road lots near North Street, the 4 of them that you guys permitted maybe last year or something. Their price on the market must have dropped. I've been getting a ton of phone calls, and so far I've convinced almost everybody that they don't want it because those are really hard properties. They got big wetland crossings, long driveways, and ledge. So we'll see if anyone actually buys them.
Wow. Well, that's being honest.
Yeah. And Grace has been doing a great job in the office, doing a lot of reorganizing and sorting out of piles, which have been sitting there for some of them, I think, since Selby's time. Mm-hmm. So we're getting good cleaning work done. And we reorganized all the files in the cabinet so that they're by street name, so that they're a little bit easier to find. So I think we're pretty happy with it. Hopefully it doesn't drive you guys crazy, but it just makes it a lot easier to find stuff without having to know the DEP number and look up the DEP number. We can say, oh, let's just check out North Street or whatever and see what we can find. So Grace has been doing a great job with that.
Good job. Sounds very logical.
And yeah, I've been signing off on a few building permits. I issued the emergency cert for Depot Street to take the dam down. And I did go out there and look at it actually after it was supposedly gone. And I couldn't really tell that much difference. So I don't know if the water just hadn't drained yet or what was going on there, but they did supposedly take it down. And I think that is pretty much it.
Excellent. Thank you. We appreciate that. And now we have administrative report from Grace.
Oh, for Grace's stuff.
First, we have 2 sets of minutes. Chris, would you like to do that now or?
Sure, we have time now.
So we have March 22nd, last month's meeting, as well as the minutes from the special meeting, April 3rd.
Does anyone have comments on the minutes? Everyone gets to read them.
Yep.
Okay, so do we have a motion to accept the minutes from March 22nd?
So moved.
And a second? So, who did the motion?
Alan.
Okay, Alan. And who seconded it?
Marcella.
Okay, Marcella. And let's do a voice vote. And remember to say your name first to help Grace out. And Chris Scott, aye.
Tom, aye.
Alan, aye.
David, I.
Mike, aye.
Marcella, aye.
Okay, that's the unanimous vote of the commission. Thank you, Grace, for doing a nice job. And so the next one was the special meeting that we had. So, Grace, what do you have there?
That was a special meeting for April 3rd last week with Five Forks Farm.
Yep. So, does anyone have a question or any discussion? So, do we have someone to make a motion to accept those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
And let's do a voice vote on Chris Scott, aye.
Tom, aye.
Alan, aye.
David, I.
Mike, aye.
Marcella, aye.
Okay, that's a unanimous vote of the commission to accept the minutes from our special meeting on April 6th. So thank you, Grace, for doing a nice job on that one too. So what else do you have for us, Grace?
We have 2 vouchers. Mary, do you want to share or do you want me to share?
Oh, why don't you share? Sure. Unless it takes you a while to get to them.
Oh, no, I have them. Does everyone see that?
Yep. Coupons and now I have a question on the one from Malcolm Sviger.
Yes.
Now, is he tripping for water control or for Board of Health stuff?
Yeah, I think this was for that 12 Depot Street beaver dam. So before the dam was breached, they did trap some beavers in there, and I think that was what this one was for.
Yeah, isn't that through the health department or whatever? I mean, so why would that be on our list?
Well, because I think we share the beaver control fund with the health department, and so it's just coming out of the beaver control fund.
Okay.
And if it's water control, it comes out of our portion, and if it's for Board of Health, like health issues, then it comes out of their portion.
Oh, well, I'll check with Diane on that then, because it was for trapping. So
thank you. Because we have $4,000. We split in half. So 1/2 we have control over, and 1/2 the Board of Health does. So
and Grace, I'm sorry, I should have caught this. The Koopman one needs to come out of the community garden fund because
Okay.
That was for garden expenses.
Okay.
Thanks, Mary.
Yeah, I can change that.
Yeah.
And it's the revolving fund, yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent job. So we have a motion to accept our bills as amended.
I thought none of these are our bills.
Well, the
Koopman's
Koopman definitely is, and I guess the beaver control is kind of optional. But it's the same pot of money, whether the Board of Health authorizes it or we do. I personally wouldn't have a problem with us doing it just so this guy gets paid sooner.
It's not like we can spend it on anything else,
right.
Tom.
Right.
This is
Right.
dedicated.
Yeah, okay. I'm fine with it.
Okay.
I'm not going to run off and buy lumber with that money.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Chris Scott, aye.
Tom, aye.
Alan, aye.
David, I.
Mike, aye.
Marcella, aye.
Okay, so a unanimous vote of the commission to pay these two bills. And what else, Grace?
We have one more voucher. We have the subscription bill for Northern Woodlands, and I asked Denise how she dealt with payments for this in the past, and she said to go through the card.
Okay, do you have any discussion on this bill?
I'm assuming you guys want to continue the subscription.
Yeah, now that we can see it online, we don't, rather than having to grab the paper copy before anybody else does. That's really nice. I really appreciate having it available to all of us.
Excellent. So do a motion to pay this bill.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Chris Scott, aye.
Tom, aye.
Alan, aye.
David, I.
Mike, aye.
Marcella, aye.
Excellent. So it's a unanimous vote of the commission. Thank you, Grace, for getting this paid. And do you have anything else, Grace?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And now we have time to go on to financial. Do I do that? How about the website?
Nothing new to report on the website.
And Mary, do you have anything about the website, the town's thing about switching to?
Yeah, they're migrating everything pretty soon. I can't remember the date, and I have not sat down and looked at our website. And I think we agreed last meeting that most of it, we liked the material, and I think they just really wanted us to weed stuff off that was old, and I don't think we really necessarily have old stuff on there. So the other stuff just maybe could be rearranged, but
there's quite a
this
bit
is
that
Bill.
needs to be updated.
The
Sorry, Bill.
the stuff that you want to remove, they asked that we take it off by Friday.
Is this Friday? Okay, thanks, Bill. I knew it was coming up.
What about changes? There's stuff that doesn't need to be moved or removed, but like things that need to be updated. Would it be better to wait until it's moved over so we can start anew, or should it be good to go before it gets over?
I don't think it matters. I don't think.
Yeah, it seems like every time I click on something, there's like some little thing that needs updating, and I never really think to make note of it. But it might be a good idea. I might just go through each item and see if there is anything there that needs to be updated, and I'll let Alan know.
Well, I think we should definitely write everything down, but I think we need to turn the website stuff over to a staff person now that we have staff.
Okay.
It's just not effective for me to do all these minor edits here and there, because I was jumping in when we didn't have any staff on board, but now that we have staff that can do it, I think we need to have them trained up and push things that way. I think that's going to be the best long-term solution, because it's big enough where it needs a staff person to look at it and do a little tweak here and there, nip and tuck, almost on a daily basis. That's what you need for a website.
Yeah.
Grace has been putting all the applications up and everything, and she's gotten really good with that. So
should we give her any comments? Like tomorrow?
Yeah, I think if she has, I know she's been working hard for Concom, moving all our files, but so far planning, et cetera, is not really complaining. So we definitely can give her some work. And if she has to spend some of her time elsewhere, then she'll do that. So.
And Ellen, thank you for your years of service, keeping our website going quite well.
Yay, Ellen.
Yay,
yeah, no, I'm very happy, but I'm happy also to hand it over to a staff person.
That's always a good thing. Well, thank you. And what we should do at this point is, how about Open Space Committee?
I don't have anything. I think we're going to have a discussion about the Reed property later. So I don't have anything for this evening other than that.
Okay, Land Stewardship Committee.
Nothing much. You know, we've been the Robertson property stuff has been discussed, and we also, you know, Mike and I have yet to get out there and flag the Mechanic Street property, but we have plans to do that within a week, and hopefully that'll get things rolling for getting the trails built there. And while we're there, maybe we can look at the property and see if there is some place we could do some mitigation, if that is going to be an option for the boardwalk at the Robertson property. So we can maybe take a look.
Thank you. And how about land?
This is Bill. I would like to do one thing from a land stewardship perspective, and that is I'd like to give a shout out to my friends at the DPW for moving the dirt and filling in the low spots. They did a wonderful job, and in addition to doing that work, they did provide some of the dirt. They were a couple of truckloads short, and they had some extra dirt at the garage, so they brought some down to finish it up with.
Wow.
And this is at Stephens, and so there's more parking now, and it looks really nice, and hopefully we'll be able to continue improving that area. Thanks, Bill. I forgot about that. Yes, please, DPW gets...
Excellent. That's great. And how about, at this point, the Reed property on Mechanic Street?
So I think Mike has proposed that we have a offer to have actually would be done for our purposes. So we have a appraisal done of the property, so they have a better sense of what kind of values are there, and perhaps a better sense of how the different parts of the property can be used, so that we can identify perhaps strategies for preserving some or some of that property.
Now, with that said, Bill or Mike, do you know what fund would pay for this?
This is Mike. I would first the quote I have is from Gail Mann, who has done work for us before. She did the appraisal for the Robertson property a few years ago, and her quote is $3,400 to $3,700 for the appraisal. And I would suggest it come out of the conservation fund.
And Mary or Grace, do you know what our balance is in the conservation fund?
So you're saying 3,700, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think the conservation fund is well over that. I think it's $20,000. So.
Okay. Excellent.
Well, yeah. So there's $17,000, which is earmarked for the purchase of the agricultural preservation restriction on William Street. So it's got to be $20,700.
Okay. All right. I will check the budget on that then.
Any other discussions?
Well, I don't know. Do you want to show some of the other figures and maybe Bill can jump into? We can just explain a little bit.
Which one do you want to?
think it's in the package. This was just a listing, last year's listing, which is expired. It was a very, let's put it, aspirational listing. Let's put it that way. This is we had a site visit late March. Tom Dodd wrote up this report. So thank you. Tom's not on, but thank you, Tom. So it just has pictures. You can see, maybe stop here, the Robertson CR is to the north, then there's the Reed property, and then there's a strip of land heading down towards 140 called the Kibbe property, which is under tax taking. So one of the nice potential features of some sort of a Reed acquisition would be having the Robertson Trail along Warren Brook extend much further down Warren Brook. We would have to have some kind of an agreement, I believe, with the Dodds, because I think a little trail would have to probably be on the corner of their property in one location at least. But other than that, the Kibbe property gets you pretty far down. But so that's the kind of the rationale for trying to get this this jump started a bit. The Reeds are, again, Catherine, you've been talking to them probably more than I have, and Bill, but they have some interest in preservation, but they also want to get a significant financial return. They may have, there are big constraints. The parcel on the right side of Warren Brook here on the east side seems to be landlocked, and then the most of the parcel on the west side is natural heritage wood turtle habitat. Some of it is pretty steeply sloped. So I guess that's part of the reason for doing this appraisal, is that Gail Mann would do some development planning as part of her appraisal to see what kind of makes sense here, whether it be like a small open space subdivision or maybe just a one house lot in a large lot subdivision. I don't know, but it might be at some point, we'd be looking for some town funds or a grant to purchase some of the Reed property, or purchase a conservation restriction on it, maybe. So, Bill, Catherine, what did I miss?
I don't think Catherine's still on here.
Oh, did she drop?
Yep.
She did drop off. Okay.
So I would say that if we at the site visit, the only side of the property, or the Kibbe property, that I explored was the west side of Warren Brook. So if you come down the west side of Warren Brook, absent building another significant bridge, that would be a dead-end trail, unless you could come out on Mechanic Street, but that would involve acquiring more land to do that. So I'm not sure how feasible that is. I think certainly I would like to make an effort to hike or check the other side. It's a little bit it was a little bit difficult to tell from the west side whether or not the east side might be viable. So in any case, if we were able to come down the east side, you can probably get back out onto Merriam that way, which may make it a more interesting walk, and actually would also give people from the that development there the opportunity to explore the land to the north there from the development. So just something to just point out and to think about. And then other than that, I think Mike's already pointed out that I believe the land, the Reed land on the east side of Warren Brook is probably landlocked. You'd have to build a vehicle bridge over Warren Brook to take advantage of it in any way. I just don't know how feasible from a cost or permitting perspective that is.
It's riverfront, of course. The other thing to mention is, I don't know if you can maybe just stop here. That is an old mill dam. All this open ground that you're seeing in the photos was a beaver impoundment that was breached last year. So the beavers took advantage of this, partly of this old mill dam to build their dam. And that's a really cool structure. Mm. There's the former beaver impoundment. Now it's a meadow.
Is that the stone structure? Yeah.
That's on the other side of the river from the big structure. This is just how they use an existing boulder kind of to build their berm.
Mhm.
There's a picture of the
Wow.
mill dam. And this is Warren Brook looking upstream towards the Robertson property.
Those are great photos.
That's this picture, that stone wall is the property boundary to the south. And then you can almost wade across Warren Brook right there to get into the at this time at these flows anyway, to get into the eastern parcel, the landlocked parcel.
So if we were to have an appraisal in hand, what do we do with that information? Is this a property to purchase, to work with a potential owner to provide easements? What might be the best approach here?
Bill, jump in, but my thought was it would give the owners maybe some reasonable expectation as to what their property's worth, and it might open up a conversation. Maybe they would want to like do a large lot subdivision for part of the property, and the rest of it could be somehow transferred to the town with a trail, or a trail easement could be transferred to the town. I think this just gives us something to to begin to work with and explain to them what the actual value of the property probably is, because it was listed, I think last year, that listing sheet that you showed, it was like 1.2 million, and it's 22 acres, and like 2/3 of it is landlocked, and it didn't sell. So yeah, this was its last price was $890, but it started at like 1.2, I think.
Mike, do you think they'd be interested in selling this property for a lot less than that?
I can't speak to that. I'm hoping the appraisal would give them a realistic assessment of the value. It's possible the appraisal wouldn't lead to anything, but I think the value here is it's worth the risk between the potential trail along Warren Brook and also the mill site. So wood turtle habitat. It's almost that's just my rough rendering of the riverfront zone, the 200-foot riverfront zone.
So at this point, would we wait to check on our funding with the conservation fund? Or where we go from here?
Well, Chris, could we possibly have a motion from somebody to approve expenditure up to $3,800 out of the conservation fund, provided that there are adequate funds in that account once the $17,000 is withdrawn for the APR.
Okay,
What's that for a motion, Grace? Sorry.
do we have a second?
Just one more question.
Actually, that wasn't a motion. That was just my thought. If somebody could maybe make that clearer.
I have one more question. I wanted to find out if the appraisal will provide us with, or provide the owners with, some ideas for how to use the land. Is she going to do various options that might be possible as far as valuing the land?
Yes, she'll have to make some assumptions about development scenarios. Yes, that's part of what she'll do.
Right, thanks.
And the other thing, just this appraisal would be done following the state standards. So if in a year or two we wanted to apply for a grant, the appraisal would be good for a year, and then we can have it updated for a small amount of money. But
anyway, that motion that Mike made, I would be willing to make it, or the way he described it.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Chris, Scott, aye.
Tom, aye.
Alan, aye.
David, aye.
Mike, aye.
Marcella, aye.
That's a unanimous vote of the Conservation Commission. Thank you. So anything else on that topic? Because at 8:30 we have 343 Pleasant Minute Street.
Actually, Chris, there is one more comment I'd like to make about the Reed property.
Okay, go right ahead.
I just I was intended to forward it, but I didn't. But I should let you know that Linda Gay emailed the Land Stewardship Committee suggesting that we contact other environmental organizations to find out if they have any interest in perhaps purchasing the Reed property and using it for an environmental education center or something along those lines. And she mentioned in her email the Audubon and the trustees or whatever. I just wanted to let people know that she had sent that out. I think her proposal was not so much the town do anything with it, but that we try to find somebody perhaps we could partner with to see if they could do something with it. I think that's probably not very likely, but she's willing to do all the groundwork. So
sounds great, Bill. Thank you for adding that. So now we have 343 Mendon Street.
All right. I believe Matt is on, and he submitted this drawing. And I was supposed to come up with enforcement orders for this. We approved them last meeting, and I didn't do it yet because it's been a little busy. I did do some research though on the property, and I could not find any old filing on this property or the neighboring properties. The house is pretty old. I think it was 1972 or something. So, and the garage is 1991. I looked through the back files. There could be something, but I couldn't find anything, and there was nothing at the registry. So there was no wetland plans that I could find. I did go out and look at the wetland area. It is flagged up to about here. Like the neighbor got their property flagged basically. And I was able to kind of determine that maybe I should look at my pictures, that the wetland seems to go, let's see if we have a good picture of it. Here we go. So this is all the fill that he's put in. See how there's a stone wall here? So the wetland just goes probably just a little bit beyond the stone wall. And this part up here is upland. And the wetland is flagged on the other side of the stone wall. So that's pretty much where the edge of the wetland is. But so that means that the fill comes, within 10 feet or less of the wetland edge. This property, given that the house has been on here for a while, is not subject to the bylaw. It would just be subject to the state regs. I even had a question as to whether this wetland is, has continuity to other wetlands, and it does. I looked downstream, the neighboring houses, it does eventually connect in with a stream and go down. So the wetland is, it would fall under the Wetland Protection Act. So that's kind of what I figured out in terms of the wetland. And then we have Matt's plans for it. And Matt, I'll let you explain your plans.
So right now, we have fill about 35 feet out off this back corner of the garage, back right corner. Yep. Goes out, 35, 38 feet about. And then I want to continue that down in a straight line towards the curve of the driveway. And that goes out 100 feet. And then I would like to finish the top rim with arborvitae to hold the top rim for some erosion control. And then I'd like to place loam and wood chips on the slant to hold vegetation, so vegetation will grow. And then pretty much be done with it, and then just finish that project. I think that would make me happy, and hopefully make you guys happy too.
Yes, I also looked at the pond, and I did, and this was Monday before my vernal pool workshop, but there were a lot of egg masses in the pond. So at the time, I couldn't really identify them. I think looking back from what I learned today, that some of them were probably wood frog, and the wood frog ones were hatching. There were already little tiny tadpoles, and it wasn't just one or two, it was a lot. So I think this pool is definitely certifiable. It is not certified at the moment. It's listed on the state map, though, of potential vernal pools as a potential vernal pool. I did walk around it. Matt had mentioned that he thought there was an outlet to the pond, and there is an outlet, except it looks like it was dug with machinery at some point. It goes down maybe a couple 100 feet, and then the man-made stops, and it just kind of fans out, and there's no stream channel beyond that, really. So I don't see that there's no real connectivity with this pond with any other surrounding wetland or anything. So I think kind of the question before the board is how we're going to proceed. We could ask him, I think this was a lot of work in the vicinity of a wetland. We could easily ask him to file an after the fact notice of intent like we did for 165 South Street. Or we could have him proceed and finish the work off under an enforcement order. He is anxious to get started and kind of finish it off. As you can see, it's still everything's bare and exposed. So I think we might want to look at the timing of a potential filing and what work would be required. I think any kind of filing or anything that we have done, I would like to see restoration, some kind of restoration around the vernal pool. And he has putting some blueberry bushes in. I think we would want to see kind of some kind of allowing, and maybe I can go back to my pictures. The vernal pool area, there was a lot of disturbance around it. It's all, so I think this is looking back towards the pools back here. This whole area is, pretty well kind of dug up. Where's the pool itself? Oh, here's the pool. These stones were installed. This area, the vegetation was removed. And this is looking from standing at the pool from kind of towards the house. This all areas, the equipment been around in there. And I think we looked at these aerial photos last time. This is a recent one from 2022 showing the stones and kind of the open area. And this is what it was like in 2020, the pool. And the kind of vegetation is a little bit thicker in there. The path has always been there. I have no objection to the path staying. Looks like it's historic. So I think those are kind of the issues before the commission tonight, is how we want to go forward with this, whether under enforcement orders or notice of intent.
The disturbed area looks very, very disturbed and churned up. Is there anything there to stabilize it? Or is there a proposal to seed or do something there?
Well, I mean, those pictures were taken when it was cold and frosty out, so nothing was growing at the time. But, I can plant some sort of ground cover seed or something that holds steady.
Yeah, I think the proposal of the blueberry plants, which we're going to go in on this side, is great. I think we're probably going to need more than 4, though. I probably want some around the edge and stuff here.
Yeah, it was just giving a rough idea.
Right, of course.
Will that adequately stabilize the area? I just wonder what happens if, we get one of those heavy rainstorms. It looks like there's a lot of stuff that could wash into the pond or the pool, vernal pool.
Yeah, I agree, Marcel. I think probably we could have something up there in terms of straw wattle or silt fence or something. The stones are providing some protection, but this area here is not really protected at all.
Yeah.
Oh, and all the egg masses were over on this side of the pool, most all of them. And one thing that I think we would want Matt to consider, I did talk with him on the phone about this, is, getting this pool certified as well.
Mm-hmm. Or would we allow someone to certify it?
Yeah, Matt would have to give us permission.
Right. So at this point, are we wanting to have this work continue on and do an after the fact filing rather than an enforcement order?
I do have a question for Mary. Do you think, well, 2 questions. One, in the front, has any wetland actually been filled, do you think, or can we not determine that?
No, I'm pretty sure the wetland has not actually been filled in the front.
Okay.
It's close, but I'm pretty sure that it's just up the slope a little bit.
And there were some blue flags there. We don't really know who did that.
Yeah, it must have been the neighbor, because the flags kind of pretty much stop right near his. I don't know where the line is, but they don't go all the way around where it should go.
And would you recommend some bounds?
Yes, I would definitely recommend some bounds. And I wonder, I mean, to me, you might, in my mind, you could ask him to pull it back 10 feet. It's pretty close to the wetland, but I mean, obviously that's a lot of work for him, and that, he has the material on site already, but it is awfully close, and there's several trees that are going to be lost because of this.
A situation, it's a little bit similar to the VFW. I guess I could ask John this question. The equipment you have on site, could you reach the bottom of the slope with it? It's easier to push fill into a wetland sometimes than to bring it out. I know you have a pretty big excavator there, but
I mean, I can see what I can grab, but I
and we don't want you to tip over. Is this? Are you a professional at this, or?
No, nope.
Yeah, so I'd just be concerned. I don't know. There's a lot of things to talk about here, but one concern I would have is that if we do ask for fill to be removed, that be done safely. I don't want anyone to die here. So.
I mean, the fill is, it's pretty much stable now. I don't understand what would be the trouble in just seeding it and getting something to grow, and then just kind of finalizing that area of the house.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, the question, the reason this is so sticky is that, if, you had known that this would have required a filing, and if you had come before us, would the commission have allowed you to go so close to the wetland is kind of the question they're, considering. And they might have, but it is awfully close. So, and that's, of course, we realize you're in a difficult position with having the stuff already there, but.
So I think is the question, do we want to issue an enforcement order and then work with those intent coming out of this, and then we have the conditions to fix the problem? Is that what we're hearing?
I think that's a good question, is how to proceed, whether we just continue under enforcement order. I know the DEP, they prefer, I think, at times to just do everything under enforcement order, unless there's new additional work being done, which needs to be permitted. But I know also, some commissions like to, just have them do a notice of intent, because that's what would have been the proper procedure in this situation.
What I thought is whatever can be done quickly, so that way there's not more damage due to erosion into the resource areas.
How much material would need to be pulled back to release those trees from the looks like a number of trees would probably die with the amount of soil surrounding them. Could at least the soil be moved from those trees?
Well, part of the issue with those trees is I had one fall in the garage already, and I had to get the roof done and whatnot, and they're still overhanging the garage. So, I mean, they're gonna be coming down regardless.
Okay, so your plan is to take them down, period.
Well, they're a hazard right now, so yeah.
Are any of them dead, or are they all still living trees?
Some dead limbs. Yeah.
But the trees themselves are still alive.
Right, but the overhanging limbs might be a hazard.
Yep.
So, Mary, what's your thought now? If those trees are not going to be vital to see there?
Yeah, I mean, the trees obviously is another impact. But yeah, I mean, he's going to have to, once he gets the fill stabilized around them, I'm sure you'll be cutting them down, right, Matt?
Yeah.
So that yeah. And you may have already cut a few. This picture is a little old, right?
I
thought maybe it looked like one had been cut when I was out there the other day.
That one's
Yeah.
down.
Well, I'm just kind of thinking about, this side of the issue and then the vernal pool side, and wondering how the commission feels, if we, allow them to go ahead and stabilize this, kind of with the idea that the vernal pool side is maybe treated a little bit more carefully, and he allows us to certify it, and maybe we establish, some kind of, vegetative buffer around there. And we can talk, how you like. I mean, maybe obviously you probably want to path the vernal pool so you can look at it. The stones. Now that they're there, I don't think we're going to ask you to take them out. I mean, obviously that's up to the commission. But as a path is, or maybe a 10-foot wide access. But I think the way it is now, it's pretty open. So how wide of an access, and what kind of where we would allow the vegetation to grow back around that vernal pool.
Yeah, I think we'd be doing more damage. I mean, at this point, it's probably important to seed it and stabilize the area. It just looks like it's ready to wash away in this picture. And with the pool, I would like to see the area around the pool naturalized, not become more lawn, or it looks like there was a path or a road there. I don't know how much use that gets, and if that's a necessary part of the how you use the land.
Well, it was already established, so
okay.
Nothing.
Yeah, I think that this trail, there's several trails through here.
Walking trails back there and whatnot.
Yeah. But yeah, to kind of and there is a shed next to the pond here, but to reestablish some kind of vegetation most of the way around, I think would be ideal.
Yeah, Mary, could you leave? I guess maybe leave that one up.
Okay. The plan.
The plan, yeah. I just want to throw something up. You guys remember Chestnut Street? I think it was Chestnut Street, where it was a somewhat similar situation. We had a violation, and then there's a vernal pool involved. In that case, they were tearing down an old house and building a new one, but we actually asked for a deed restriction. And I'm just wondering if maybe we could do that here, which would basically, allow trails and forestry and various types of activities. There's not a north-south arrow in this thing, but anyway, to the top of the lot, which would basically protect a zone around the vernal pool from any further disturbance. Do you have any John? Do you have any plans of doing any development to the? Yeah, I don't know if your property lines is shown on there too well.
Yeah, he's got a big. This is one of the lines. It's a big lot. It goes really far back, more than what we're seeing here.
Yeah. I'm just throwing that out. That's we had another situation, not really well, somewhat similar to this, and that's what we ended up doing is asking for a deed restriction that would just limit disturbance, especially around the vernal pool. But vernal pool, we talked about this a little earlier. Wood frogs, salamanders, they they breed in this pool, but they travel hundreds of feet from the pool, for wintering and habitat in the in the summer. They primarily use uplands rather than wetlands. They live in the soil. That's the salamanders. I don't know. I don't know if anyone else thinks that might be appropriate, given the, we could ask for notice of intent to provide.
Yeah, I mean, it really, we could, the level of this disturbance, we could ask for engineered plans and the whole 9 yards, and that would be well within our wherewithal. We could.
What are the advantages of working under an enforcement order versus filing after the fact? What?
Well, I see there's kind of two things going on. I think the DEP likes to see work under the enforcement order because an enforcement order has teeth to it. Whereas once a notice of intent is filed, if the enforcement order is then lifted, then there's no requirement for the person to actually to follow through and finish the work. And so I think that's one reason DEP likes to stick with the enforcement order. But we have found, or what I found at Webster is one reason we would ask people to file, though, is to teach them, this is what you should have done, and have you walk through the steps and pay the fees, whatever they are, hire the engineer, whatever you would have had to do, so you're not just like the back door out. But I think in this situation, there's other things like Mike's suggestion, other things we can ask, I don't know, to avoid the notice of intent from filing or whatever, other ways of doing it.
Yeah, this is Tom. I think the deed restriction is a good idea. My bigger concern is the vernal pool area as opposed to the area around his home. So I'd be willing, to give leeway around the house. I would, that vernal pool was pretty tracked up and vegetation was pretty much gone other than the trees. So, I mean, that area I think should be restored to some level.
So do we have any other comments? Because we need to put all of those together.
So I know Matt is hoping to start work on stabilizing his stuff up front. If the commission wants to agree that he can proceed on that part of it, and I will write up those enforcement orders and get them to him, and then maybe we can have him come back to talk more about how we're going to deal with the vernal pool area.
Sounds like a plan.
I'd be in favor of that. Maybe we could share a sample deed restriction. Matt could review. That would be focused on the vernal pool area.
Okay, do we have a motion to follow those paths?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Prisca, aye.
Tom, aye.
Alan, aye.
David, aye.
Mike, aye.
Marcella, aye.
Okay, so we have a unanimous vote to have Mary draft out an enforcement order as well as a letter that allows him to move forward with stuff around his house.
Yeah, and Chris, we should probably have him on the next meeting.
Yes. And next meeting, what does that look like, Mary?
I think we could have them, so far that we have no more other applications, I think we could have them at 7:30.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, and with that said, we have an 845 RDA for 22 Pleasant Street, which is installation of an above ground pool.
Yes, and I'm not sure if our applicant is here.
Hi, we're here.
Oh, great. Sorry, we're running a little late.
That's okay.
No worries.
All right, so this is, I asked them to file because they are so close to the wetland, but it is, again, it's just an above ground pool. And there will be not very much disturbance to the ground. They may have to level it a little bit, and they will be putting gravel around the pool. And let me just show you my review. So here's looking kind of from the house. You can see the wetland is very close. Here's the fenced area. And the pool is going somewhere in here. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, somewhere in here. So, you know, maybe 20, 25 feet from the wetland. So pretty close. But again, it's enclosed area, previously disturbed. And this is just looking, so there's that cattail wetland to the left, and then off to the right, there's an intermittent stream and a little bit of forested wetland. And this is just looking towards the house at the area where the pool will go. They don't have a lot of space really to put a pool in. So my recommendation here is to issue a negative determination for applicability. Oh, we should have read the hearing notice, I guess. And just ask them to install a straw wattle just in case any disturbance would cause erosion.
Okay, do we have any discussion from the commission?
Did you read the hearing notice first, or?
Yeah, maybe I should read the hearing notice.
That's good.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act that the Upton Conservation Commission will hold the following public hearing on Wednesday, April 12th at 8:45 p.m. Request for determinative applicability filed by William and Tamara, I'm gonna mess up your last name, Piasecki, for the installment of a 24-foot above ground pool in an already fenced portion of lawn at 22 Pleasant Street.
Okay, do you have any questions or comments or discussion from the commission? How about from the applicant?
No.
Okay, thank you. How about the audience? Therefore, would you like to close this hearing for the applicant?
Yes.
Okay. And we'll make a motion to issue a negative determination, which is good for this project. Then Mary can get back to you.
Yeah, and Chris, can we motion that I would write it up with the conditions that I mentioned, and I can go ahead and issue that before the next meeting, if that's okay?
Yes, that's perfect. So let's take a motion to issue the order of the determination as Mary described.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Chris Scott, aye.
Tom, aye.
Alan, aye.
David, aye.
Okay, so that's a unanimous vote of the commission. So thank you very much. And Mary will get in touch with you when they're done.
Thank you.
And be at 9 o'clock, which was American 10 for 5 Henry's path for installation of a retaining wall. So Mary, can you read the notice, please?
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act that the Upton Conservation Commission will hold the following public hearing on Wednesday, April 12th, 2023 at 9 o'clock. A determination filed by Joshua Cooney for the construction of a small retaining wall 3 feet in height to reinforce the patio being built around the pool at 5 Henry's Path. Parcel 24-19.24. And there's a couple things going on with this. Oh, I feel like it got switched. It's like backwards.
No,
I guess it's not. Nope, it's not. I'm just confused. So here's the street. Here's the house. So he went last summer. He put the pool in, and we probably should have been part of that process, but there was no agent on at the time, and the building department just approved it. So the pool is already in. And then he talked to me because there's this drainage easement, and the engineering firm picked up on that, and they had it all staked out, and his retaining wall is slightly going into the drainage easement. So he has talked to the DPW and gotten Dennis's permission to have the retaining wall in the drainage easement. And part of the drainage easement is kind of for flood control in case the stream here overflows, and part of it is for access. So the DPW can access the head wall to this piped stream and make any repairs that they would need. So he does have approval from the DPW for that. Wetlands are close. You know, it's like 18 feet to the retaining wall. It is all in previously disturbed area. Here's a picture of the pool. And you can see the retaining wall will kind of go along here to provide stabilization for a patio that's going to go around the pool. The orange stake here kind of shows the line of the drainage easement. And I think the shovel that was in the picture is also kind of along that line. So the retaining wall will go right a little just over the easement. Is that correct, Josh?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. So it will go out a little bit that way. And he does have some material stockpiled here that's going to be moved.
Yep.
So this kind of shows the lawn area next to the wetland. Here's a wetland flag. The lawn goes right up to the wetland. This is looking at the wetland. This is all within the wetland. And Josh, I believe we talked about this. The former owners, I think, used to rake their leaves in here. There's a pile of grass clippings. This is all within the wetland. You can see the green skunk cabbage coming up here.
Yep.
And I think, Josh, you and I talked about no additional stuff. I'm not sure. We might want to ask you to remove the stuff that's already there. I don't know how the commission feels about that. And here's a picture of the stream. Plenty of water in it right now. Yeah, so in terms of this filing, the recommendations were that it should get a straw wattle up and just issue a negative determination for it, require inspection after completion for stabilization, and just, you know, whether the commission would like the stuff removed from the wetland or not is a question for the commission to consider.
The lawn area that comes up to the wetland, is that all, I mean, could that be allowed to naturalize, or is that part of this this pool wall plan?
Well, I think the lawn has historically been there. Obviously, this house was permitted a long time ago. So yeah, that commission, it's a very small backyard. This is a swing set actually that goes here that's just been moved.
Oh, okay.
For I don't know why it was moved, but it maybe because of the work, but there is a swing set that goes right here.
Okay.
There had been a shed in the drainage easement, and that has been removed. So that was a positive step forward.
So that said, is there RDA for the installation of the retaining wall a positive thing?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I asked him to make a filing because it was so close to the wetland. I'm okay with building the retaining wall there. It will, provide a little bit more flood storage than if he just has a slope. It doesn't seem to be, it's already in previously disturbed area. There doesn't seem to be very many issues with it, except, maybe he needs an erosion control to make sure that the wetlands are not impacted.
And with that said, are there any questions from the applicant or from the commission or from the audience? So at this point, hearing none, would the applicant like to close this hearing? Which is a good thing.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and vote on this in a little bit and then issue the determination as Mary has described. So
And what do you guys think about the grass clippings and the leaves that are in the wetland? Whether those should be removed or what?
How deep does it go? Like, is it preventing vegetation from, is the skunk cabbage not making its way out of there, or?
Oh no, it comes right up.
Yeah, this one pile of grass clippings is pretty deep, but the leaves through here, I'm not sure that they're too deep. But...
No, that's it gets pretty heavily wooded in there during the summertime. So a lot of that leaves are from in the fall from all the woods in the back falling down.
So with that said, Mary, maybe it would be good to know no further addition of lawn clippings or grass or leaves be added to the pile.
Yep.
Do we have any other comments about this from the commission? So that would be one item in your determination. Do you need anything for a silt fence in the area where work will be done?
Yeah, I would think we would want a silt fence and wattles along that section. Yeah. Or maybe just the wattles.
Any need for bounds with this project?
Oh, that's a good question. The edge is kind of delimited by the stones there, but it is possible a new homeowner would think to push beyond. Well, the area where the stream is, you really can't.
Right.
But this section here, which is just to the right of here, you could put maybe one bound in the corner there, just to kind of, that might be a good idea.
Any other thoughts about bounds?
One or two bounds.
Yeah, I would support one or two bounds. Maybe two, just to create a line.
Yeah. And really, I mean, the drainage easement is, I mean, now that he has it staked out, I don't know whether, I guess on the one side you could leave the pin in there just so you know where it is.
Yeah, the flags are still marked on the opposite side of the property.
Yeah.
It might be a good idea to mark the areas where the flags are.
Okay.
So, do we have a motion from the commission to have Mary write up this determination, clean the items we mentioned, especially the bounds.
So moved.
To a second?
Second.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Krista, aye.
Tom, aye.
Alan, aye.
David, I.
Icon.
Marcella, aye.
Okay, that's a unanimous vote of the commission. So everyone write out these details for you, and then she'll contact you when they're done for the paperwork. Okay, so next thing we have is for our ongoing items. Is there anything else there?
Yeah, 53 George Hill Road. Mike, Tom, Bill, and I took a walk there to see what to confirm whether or not that encroachment that we saw was indeed encroachment. We couldn't find any markers, from when the place was built or when the neighboring property. There were some markers from when the neighboring property was surveyed, but that really wasn't very conclusive. The suggestion is to have someone come and survey the property for us and confirm that what we believe to be an encroachment. Basically, through the center of this photograph, all that is, we believe is part of the town-owned property. So before we approach the homeowner, we want to make sure we have our information straight. So I'd like to put that out there to see if we could approve the funds to hire somebody to do a survey and confirm the property boundaries.
Excuse me, Marcel, I was gone. Did we approach the homeowner about if they had their property surveyed yet?
No.
Would that be a better first step?
I don't know. It could be. I don't know what the other folks think. And if it was surveyed, I would still suggest we get it surveyed as well, because if the disturbance that has taken place on the property is on town land, then I want, if there's going to be a dispute, I want something in hand to say, here's what our surveyor says. It probably would, it won't hurt to talk to the homeowner, but I do want to approach them with as much information as we can. If indeed they have encroached onto the town's land, there's considerable work that they will have to do to remedy that. You can see from the aerial view that there's a cleared area, there's the shed, there's lawn, there's a stone wall, all that, and some of the patio. So if these lines are correct, then we have a problem. If that stone wall isn't, it looked almost as if he had it surveyed, that it was surveyed to show that the stone wall was the boundary, but that looks even if it's closer to where the property line is, it still looks like it's going to be, some piece of that is going to be within town property. So I really would like to confirm what the property lines are. But
And
if others
Marcella, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, even if they have a survey on file, I mean, it sounds like it makes sense for us to have one as well, right?
Yeah, if they did have a survey done and it could have been wrong, I'd like to at least have information in hand that demonstrates our interests.
Marcella, do you know how much?
I'm sorry.
Do you know how much a survey for this spot would cost?
Mike, you put out a figure. I forget what it was.
Yeah, Metacomet got a quote for doing something kind of similar with a possible encroachment. We ended up not executing it, but it was $2,500 from Waterman Design, the folks who did the Mechanic Street property. So that's probably the ballpark. I think it's probably pretty straightforward. That oak tree in the first picture, there was a survey marker in the road. Oh wait, stop. Oh, actually, stop here. Yeah, that's the oak tree. But go back to where I wanted to say one other thing. Okay, so blow up that one. Yeah, keep going. Keep going. Make it much bigger. No, the first one that you were at. That one. Keep going. This is okay. Stop. No, scroll down a little bit. This is kind of okay. I'll stop. This kind of makes me nervous because see their driveway to the north there.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of follows the boundary. So if the strip of land boundary is off, then what about their driveway? It just doesn't make sense that if the strip of land boundary is wrong, then their driveway could be on their neighbor's property. If everything just shifted down, 50 feet.
Mike,
or so.
I think the driveway might be on the neighbor's property because I believe
they have an easement. But
yeah, there's an easement for this one, so it may be on the neighbor's property.
Yeah,
I believe it is.
I'm not making myself clear, I guess. Just that, assuming that driveway's in the right place, that makes me more nervous that there's an encroachment. Does that make sense to anyone else?
Kinda.
Yeah.
But if you shift all those, are you talking about like shifting all those lines over? Like if we shift those lines over to move the strip,
it looks suspicious.
The first house there on the driveway will be on somebody else's land.
Yeah. So that's I agree, and that's what's making me worried that we really do have an encroachment here.
I really think in a survey we need to have something in hand before we start accusing people of encroaching.
So, which account would pay for that survey?
I'm sorry?
Which account would pay for the survey?
Oh, good question. There's some noise going on. I don't know who.
I hear it too.
Okay, thank you. So I don't know which account it would best come from. What do we have, and what are we allowed to spend?
Right. Our general expense account, and I forgot to have Grace put together our listing of things. But I believe our general expense account, we're down to pretty much nothing. We're waiting for the $4,000 on that. And so the other accounts would be like the land stewardship revolving. There's 2 accounts there. We may have already spent, I understand there's some limit. We did spend a bunch of money out of one of them. Whether we've gone above our limit on that one or not, I don't know. So we'll.
Go ahead.
I always say we'll definitely, and one of the projects that I'm having Grace work on is she's finally got a login for Vadar, and she's learning how to check all the, just to make sure that, because our numbers and Kenny's numbers are way off, so we got to figure out what's going on there. And so she's going to at least learn how to go in there so we have something to talk with Kenny about, and we'll try to figure out what's actually going on with some of our expenses. And we do have, this is another discussion we need to have with Kenny, like our conservation bylaw account, which is the town bylaw, which I believe, I don't know what we're required to, what the limits are on spending that money. There's a fair bit of money in there. You know, I can't remember the exact number, but I would say over $10,000. And I'm not sure whether that's supposed to be going to paying salary or what. So that's a conversation that Grace and I need to have with Kenny, but there is money there, but the other accounts, I'm not as sure about.
It seems like if we want to do this quickly, it would have to come out of the conservation fund if there is enough.
Yeah.
In that fund. Otherwise, I think we are up against the limit for the revolving fund, the land stewardship revolving fund. I think we talked about it earlier. Unless you could go to the selectmen and the FinCom and ask to use it, but maybe we should just, if the conservation fund's not an option, maybe we could just wait until the next fiscal year. Wait until July.
I would agree with Mike, waiting until July if we can, because I remember Joe had sent out an email about saying, don't spend money.
But the conservation fund isn't town's money to spend. So if we take it out of that fund, it really shouldn't affect town budget.
I think for the conservation fund, we've almost cleared it out.
Well, if the money is there, I would propose that we go ahead with a survey, and if the money is there, and if it's not there, then we wait until July. But if people prefer to wait until July, that's fine. I don't think the encroachment is going to encroach any further. It looks like they've kind of defined the yard for themselves, and I don't think that that's going to change much.
Okay, is that a motion, Marcella?
Yeah.
Do we have a second to Marcella's motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, let's do a voice vote on Marcella's motion. Chris Scott, aye.
Tom, aye.
Alan, aye.
David, aye.
Mike, aye.
Marcella, aye.
Okay, so that's a unanimous vote of the commission members present. So we'll move forward with that once we figure out our funding. And anything else under ongoing items? Okay, now with that said, do we have anything else for tonight? Hearing nothing, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
How about a second?
Second.
Okay, let's all in favor.
Aye.
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 Good night, everybody.